Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. Today, we are on the last Bermuda deck of the Bermuda set. Thank God, this set had too many decks to cover. It was actually low-key ridiculous. I did not expect it to be that way, but we went through 9 Bermuda decks, and of course we're saving the best deck for last, so today we're going to be talking about the Ange deck, which is kind of hailed as the best deck to end off G format with. It is a very consistent deck, a very powerful deck, and can kill your opponent very early just because of the multi-attacks and the power that it gives and the consistency that it gives. But a couple things before we get into the video. First, I'm going to be starting a second channel soon, so stay on the lookout for that. I'll probably make an announcement about it Monday or some kind of video about it Monday, so you guys can stay tuned for that. Secondly, for those of you who have been following along while I've been doing all this catch up, thank you so much for still supporting the channel, still doing everything that you can. I know some of you have sent me messages, and I've just been going through some stuff, and a lot of you have been very caring, very hopeful, very understanding, so I really do appreciate you guys' support. You guys keep me going as far as this channel, and yeah, I'm really thankful for you guys. That's why I'm trying my best to get all these videos out to you guys. But let's go right into our grade 3s. We have a pretty simplistic build. We start off with 4 Delight Genius Ange. Its skill is when this unit is placed on Vanguard circle or when your G unit strides, you can Soul Blast 1. If you do, then you can Soul Blast 1, and then if you do, choose up to 2 of any player's cards in any circle other than Vanguard circle and return them to your hand. So you can bounce 2 of your units, 2 of your opponent's units, or one of your opponent's units and 1 of yours. And that is the ideal thing to do, considering that you get an effect off of returning opponent's card and your card. So if the number of your opponent's cards returned is 1 or more, we draw a card. And if the number of our cards returned is 1 or more, then we search for a card from our deck with the Generation Break 2 ability, reveal it, put it into our hand, and shuffle our deck. So this card allows you to search a Stride Spotter like right off the bat, as long as we have one of our cards to return, which we usually will. And then it also helps you search out Lucille, you can search out Ange, and then you can also search out Popping Melody Layla. So very useful card, and a very good way to get things started off in the deck. Then it has a Generation Break 2 ability, and its Generation Break 2 ability is when you would discard a card from hand as the cost for Stride, you can call it to Rearguard Circle instead. So things like Lucille, you can call it instead of striding, and then Lucille's skill will actually go off, so that's pretty cool. And then getting right into Lucille's skill, it is only ran as our rearguard that we're gonna use as our grade 3 that we're gonna run as a rearguard. We really do not want to ride this card under any circumstance. It's really bad on Vanguard Circle, but on the Rearguard Circle it's great, because when it says when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle due to the effect or cost of a card during our turn, we can choose 3 of our units, and they get plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. So basically what that means is every time this card bounces and calls, you basically bounce and call this card from your hand multiple times a turn, and it will give 5k to 3 of your units multiple times a turn. So it's really hard for your opponent to guard because the numbers start to get really big. Going into our grade 2s, we have 4 Gift of Effort Shandi. This is our early game Harmony card that I talked about in the last video, in our Harmony video. It has a Vanguard Rearguard Harmony ability, which means that Harmony is the keyword for Bermuda. That says when you place another unit in the same column as a Harmony unit, both of those cards become Harmony state until the end of the turn, unless one of those cards gets removed for some reason. And then also, most of the Harmony cards have an ability that has to do with being in Harmony state. So Shandi's ability is at the beginning of your battle phase, you can counterblast 1, you draw a card for every 3 of your units in Harmony, and then if the number of units in Harmony is 4 or more, then this unit gets plus 5k. So if you have 3 cards in Harmony, which you always should have 4, just because Harmony works as a double type thing. So if you have at least 2 columns in Harmony, you draw 1, and then you get plus 5,000. If you have 6 cards in Harmony, which is your whole board, then you draw 2. Obviously, you always want to have 6, so that you can get the full use out of Shandi's skill. Then we have 4 Dual White Crystal Rika. So what Rika does is pretty simplistic effect. It's basically just a resource management card. It says when this unit is returned to your hand from the rearguard circle, if we have a Bermuda Triangle Vanguard, soul charge one and choose a card from your damage zone and turn it face up. So allows you to refund your costs pretty good there, and it allows you to refund your soul that you can use for Ange and your counterboss that you use for everything else. Then we run 4 Glitter of Yearning Spica. Spica is really good in this deck just because it's another tool that allows you to multi-attack in this deck, and it also gives 3k to whatever it calls back out. So if you're calling out Lucille, Lucille will be getting plus 8k, 3k from Spica, 5k from itself, and then you can give 5k to Spica and her booster as well to make this bigger and harder for your opponent to guard. And its skill is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if this unit is boosted, you can counterboss 1. If you do choose one of your other rear guards, return it to your hand, choose up to 1 card from your hand, call it to rearguard circle, and that unit gets plus 3000 power until the end of the turn. So very good card. Allows you to have multi-attacks like I said before. The only downside is that you have to have a booster, but that's not even really a downside. It's just one of those things where you have to suck it up to be able to use a powerful ability. Then we have 1 Preserving Talent Shandi. This is our Strive fodder. We don't run any Lorises in this deck, so the first skill is useless. But the second ability allows us to stride using it to discard from our hand, so that's what we use it for. We run 1. And then we run 4 Miracle Twin Tail Wiz. This is our Harmony PG, and then it has 4 abilities. The first one is Sentinel, meaning that you can't run more than 4 Sentinels in your deck at any time of any Sentinel card. You guys know that already. The second ability is when this unit is placed on guard circle from hand, choose a card from your hand, discard it, and then you can choose one of your Vanguards being attacked and it cannot be hit, so you can perfect guard a Vanguard with this. It does have Vanguard Rearguard Harmony, and then it does have a Generation Break 1 ability that is on the rearguard circle. It says at the end of each turn, if this unit's in Harmony, you can choose a card from your hand, discard it, and then we can return this card to our hand. So we can play this card down to the board when we need Harmony, like in the early game, like with Shandi's and stuff like that. However, when we get to Generation Break, we are able to use its skill to bounce to hand or use another skill to bounce to hand. Then we have 4 Novel Dress Akari. Akari is one of our new Harmony cards that we got out of this set. It has a Vanguard Rearguard Harmony skill, and then it has a Rearguard only skill that says when this unit attack hits, when an attack hits during the battle that this unit attacked or boosted, basically if it just participated in the attack at all. If this card is in Harmony, then you can put this card into your soul, draw a card, and choose one of your rearguards with the Harmony ability and return it to your hand. So you usually want to make a column with something in the early game that has the Harmony ability with this, so that you can attack, boost, and then you can bounce your attacker that had the Harmony ability to the hand. Then we have 4 Garland Blossom Ina, or Anya, however you would like to pronounce it. It has a Vanguard Rearguard Harmony skill, and then it has its second ability, which is a Generation Break 1 Rearguard ability. It says when this unit becomes in Harmony, choose one of your units and it actually gains the Harmony ability. So it doesn't become in Harmony state, it just gains the Harmony ability. So we use this card to give Rika, or cards like Lucille, Rika, Spica, all these cards that don't have Harmony, we can actually give them Harmony to make our board more synergetic with our deck. So it's very good in that way. And then it has an activation skill on the rearguard circle that says counterboss 1 and rest this unit. If you do choose all your units in Harmony in the same column and row as this unit, and they get plus 5000 power. So you can actually move this card up to the front of either side of your rearguard circle and then use the skill, and your front row will get 5k, and then your column will get 5k as well, including itself. Then for our starter, we have 1 Seedling Voice Loris. It has a few abilities, 4 to be exact. The first one is Forerunner, meaning that it can move back to any rearguard circle when ridden upon, so that's pretty cool. The second ability is a Rearguard Harmony skill. The third ability is a Rearguard once per turn skill that says when 4 or more of your units are in Harmony, soul charge 1. So pretty simplistic. You make Harmony a lot, so if you make Harmony with 2 or more columns while this card is on the board, you soul charge 1 mandatorily. But it's not bad that it's mandatory. It does help you fill your soul for stuff like Ange, and you end your opponent pretty quick, so it ends up not being that much of a deal. But then we have the fourth ability, which is an activation rearguard skill. It says counterboss 1, put this into your soul, choose one of your rearguards with a Harmony ability, return it to your hand, and draw a card. So this card allows you to get a little deeper into your deck if you're like digging for Ange or something like that in the early game and you want to really get to that grade 3. That's the only thing that I can think of using it for. Otherwise, we just keep using it for its soul charge skill. Then for our triggers, we run 8 crit, 4 stand, 4 heal. We have 4 Chocho Roberta as one of our crit triggers. We've talked about this crit trigger a lot throughout the different Bermuda decks and the 9 Bermuda decks that we've talked about. But this card allows you to do resource management, so you can shove it into your soul and countercharge 1. So that not only gives you some soul to work with, but also gives you some counterblast to work with, which are both important resources for us to use. And then we have 4 Popping Melody Layla. What Layla does is when this unit boosts and we're Generation Break 2, Counterboss 1, return this card to our hand, and if we do until the end of the battle, we double the boosted unit's power, and if it has the Generation Break 2 ability, give it critical +1. So when we're boosting Lucille, it's like the most important thing in this deck to like boost Lucille with this, and if Lucille's like 21, then you can boost it and have it be 42 with the crit if you know that your opponent's out of PGs, and they would have to guard it with real cards. Plus it goes back to your hand as part of the cost, so it does allow you to guard with it as well then in between turns if your opponent survives. Then we have 4 Dreamer Crook. This card is honestly one of the best cards in the deck. The combo that you do is kind of just having like Lucille, Spica, and Crook in your hand, and you make Harmony with Crook. So Crook has Harmony, Vanguard, Rearguard Circle, and then it has a Generation Break 1 ability. It says when this unit's in the Harmony state, this unit gets a skill, and that skill is at the end of the battle that this unit boosted. You can put this card to the top of your deck. If you do choose one of your other Rearguards, return it to your hand, call a card from your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So you can recall out Lucille with this effect using the skill multiple times, and then you can also use the skill to boost Spica. Spica calls another one, and then at the end of the battle you bounce Spica, call Spica back, or call something else back that will allow you to attack for a good number. Then we have 4 Chocho Marina. Chocho Marina is basically just our new heal trigger that says when we use it to G-Guard, we can countercharge 1 or soul charge 1 by binding 2 heals that are already in our drop zone. So pretty good. Moving into our G-Zone, this is the last time that we'll be talking about this Ultimate Stride. Thank the Lord, because I'm tired of talking about this Ultimate Stride after talking about it 9 times, but our Ultimate Stride for this deck is Zero Dragon of Distancy Megiddo. It is our Magalania Ultimate Stride, which means that it's for Bermuda, Aqua Force, and Grand Blue, all of our blue clans basically. A couple of things to note: if you've never seen an Ultimate Stride before, you never used one, you don't know how they work. Let me break that down for you really quick. So a couple things to remember about an Ultimate Stride is you do have to have 3 or more units face up in your G-Zone before you go into it. So you can't go into it immediately. That would be way too powerful. Yeah, you have to wait you have to wait till you can either triple G-Guard and then go into this, which you're not likely to have in the beginning of turns. If you do, then you're just really lucky. And then if you go into this, even still, you might not kill your opponent because it's too early. But they made that for all of the Ultimate Strides because some of them are powerful enough to be able to kill your opponent if you were able to do that. But you do have to have 3 or more units face up in your G-Zone, which means that you have to triple G-Guard or use a card that flips on first stride and then G-Guard in between to use its second stride. And then also you have to discard the same card from your hand as the card that's on your Vanguard to go into Ultimate Stride. And then also if you fail to kill your opponent during the turn, your entire G-Zone will get bound and removed from play, so there's no way to get it back after that, and you just have to play a vanilla deck after that because all of your units are like G-Break pretty much. But the skill is when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, Counterboss 2, and you can choose up to 5 cards in total from your hand and drop zone, call them to separate Rearguard Circle. So at the end of the turn, they get plus 5,000 power, and then they get an auto ability that says at the end of the battle, this unit attacked, choose one of your other rear guards, and you may exchange positions with this unit. So very, very good effect. We're able to set up if our opponent allows us to, do this against them. We're able to set up like a good field with Lucille's and Spikas and stuff like that, maybe even Crooks, so that we can, recall Lucille to the board and have all of our Lucille's get a bunch of power. So then we have our main strat of the deck, which is Academic Student Council President Alk. So Alk has a Vanguard Harmony ability, and then it has a Vanguard once per turn ability as well, that's activation. So during your main phase, you can counterboss 1, choose an Alk, and turn it face up in your G-Zone, and then you can choose 2 Harmony, or you choose 2 cards with the Harmony ability and return them to your hand. Then this unit gets a skill that says when this unit attacks, choose up to the number of rear guards from as your face up G-Zone plus 1, and return them to your hand, and then choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them to separate rearguard circle. So this card is really good for multi-attacking, bouncing those loose heals, calling those loose heals back for power gain against your opponent so that you can kill them really easily. And then if you're in Generation Break 3, when you're in this card as well, all of your units in Harmony get plus 5,000, so it just makes it a really big beater deck, and it's hard for your opponent to get around. Then in this deck, we run 2 Perfect Performance Ange for the Link Joker matchup, really. But we can really fight the Link Joker matchup efficiently just having Ange herself, the grade 3, but obviously you're not going to have infinite Anges to keep rewriting and stuff like that. So if the Link Joker player keeps locking you down, you need to use Perfect Performance Ange at some point. And the skill of Perfect Performance is Activation Vanguard Circle once per turn, Generation Break 2. Counterblast 2 and choose a face down card from your G zone, turn it face up. If you do, choose any number of cards on any fighter circle other than Vanguard Circle and return them to your hand. This unit gets plus 5,000 power for every card returned until the end of the turn. And if you return 5 or more cards, draw a card. And if you return 7 or more cards, this unit gets plus 1 drive. So against Link Joker, you're definitely going to have all the cards to be able to return. So you can just return with that and make your column super big, make Ange super big, and then it gets plus 1 drive when it swings. And you also drew a card, so it essentially had quintuple drive in terms of plussing. Then we have 2 Chocho popular favorite Tirua. We basically run in every Bermuda deck, even if it's not Chocho, just because it is our restander. However, in this deck, it does have more of a purpose than it does in other decks because we can have double Chocho Lucille on the field. So its skill is you choose a face down card from your G zone, turn it face up. This card gets a continuous ability that says all of the units with Chocho in its card name in your front row get plus 5,000 for each of your open rearguard circles. And then the Generation Break 3 ability is at the end of the battle that this unit was attacked. Choose up to 3 of your rearguards and put them on the bottom of your deck in any order. If 3 cards were put, then you stand this unit and it gets -2 drive. So just a typical restander. Obviously with 2 Chocho Lucille's on the field, we can do a lot more with it. Then we have 1 Festal Finale Final Priscilla. This is our Generation Break 8 of the deck. Its skill is at the end of the battle that this unit attacked the Vanguard. You can discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, return all your rearguards to the hand. Choose up to 5 cards from your hand and call them to separate rearguard circle, and they get plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. So this allows you to reset your board when you attack. If you do, then you get to attack multiple times, but you also don't get any trigger powers because this does this at the end of the battle, which means after you're done checking triggers and stacking them places, you'll have to reset your whole board if you want to use the ability, which most of the time it's worth it anyways because they get plus 5,000 when they're called back, but I just hate the fact that it's end of battle and not beginning of battle. Then we have 1 Air Element Breeze, allows you to stride on your opponents when they're trying to play the grade 2 game with you. And then we have 5 G Guards. 1 is our best Sparkle Sandy, which is our G-Flip G-Guardian from the Fighters Collection that we got a little while ago. Its skill is Generation Break 1. When this unit is placed on Guard Circle, you can choose a G-Guard from your G-Zone, turn it face up. If we do, this card gets plus 5,000 for every 2 cards in your, plus 5,000 shield for every 2 cards in your hand. Then you can counterblast 1 to have it gain 5,000 more shield. So obviously the more cards in your hand, the better it is. And then you can counterblast 1 to give it a little more shield if you need it. Then the G-Guard that we usually flip with this card is actually Ellie, because Ellie has a skill that allows it to gain plus 10,000 shield for every Luxury Wave Ellie face up in your G-Zone and every Sentinel in your drop zone. So automatically when you go into your first Ellie, you should be at least 36k base. If you have a Sentinel in your drop zone, you should be 46k base, which is enough to guard most strides. So you don't really ever have to worry about that, which is really good. But it also has a Generation Break 2 ability that says when this unit is put into the G zone face up, we can Soul Blast 1 and turn this card back face down. So as long as we have heals to keep going into our G guards and Soul to keep flipping this over, we have infinite G guards until we run out of heals, because our heals have no way to recycle in this deck. Then we have 2 High Society Citron. Its skill is when it's placed on the guard circle, choose up to 1 grade 1 or greater card from our hand, call it to the rear guard circle. If we call it a unit, then this unit gets plus 10,000 shield until the end of the battle. So easy 36k block, not much to say about that. And it doesn't really get much better than that except for G-guarding with Ellie or Sandy, which are your prime options anyways. So then going straight into our games here, we're loading up Ange game 1. We played against Kagero round 1. Looks like our opponent's playing some Overlord variant. So we ride Ina and we attack because our opponent actually rides and like passes turn the first time. So that's why I was able to ride and attack him while he's still on grade 0. But we use Shandi's skill to draw 2 cards. We put everything in harmony. We attack for 16. And then we attack for 21. We use a Kari skill, shove the soul, bounce our Shandi. He attacks Vanguard, he checks a critical, and then he attacks for 14 to our rear guard. We actually guard it. We bounce the card to his hand. We use we get Lucille, and then we draw a card, and we play Shandi and Lucille, making Harmony. Loris will soul charge, and then we make Harmony again. We use Ina's skill to counterboss 1 rest, and then it gets plus 5,000 to the front row and in the same column. So then we use Shandi's skill to draw 2, etc. So then we attack, we get a crit and a heal, so we heal down 1. Our opponent checks a crit and a heal as well, healing down 1 as well. And then we attack for 36 and he takes it. He rides the legend, counterboss 1, soul blast 1. Look at the top 5 cards from the top of his deck. And he doesn't add anything. Then he just shuffles and then he strides into Vortex Desire. Then he plays Berserk Lord Dragon on the rearguard circle, and then he attacks for 30. And then he uses Berserk Lord skill to counterboss 1. He tried to retire Lucille, but it says grade 2 or less. So then he just kills my Shandi. I take the Vanguard attack because he doesn't use the skill to flip. And then he gets a draw trigger, giving power to his rearguard and drawing. And then he attacks our rearguard. We let it go because we're just going to get more. So we re-ride, we use the skill to bounce, then we bounce his Berserk Lord to hand, we get another Ange because we can stride with it, and then we stride, we use the skill of Ange again to bounce and bounce his starter, and then this time we search out a Lucille, and we draw a card, which is another Lucille, and we shuffle. Then we play Rika using the skill of Harmony, to give Harmony to Rika, so we use alt skill to bounce it back and countercharge 1. So then we play double Crook and then a Rika and a Ina. So we attack for 12k to our opponent. And then our opponent guards for some reason with 2 5ks, 3 5ks, even though I told him that 5k would be enough. He insisted that he guard that amount. So I didn't really understand why he was doing it or if there was a strategy to it. So I just let him do it after arguing with him for a while. So I just let him be bad. It's like some people you just have to let them be bad because they refuse to try to be good, in my opinion. But anyways, we use Crook skill to bounce Rika, call Lucille. We use Rika's skill to countercharge 1, soul charge 1. Lucille gives 5k to 3 units. We attack for 16. And then we attack for 23, calling back Lucille, and then it will give 5k, 5k, 5k. We use the skill of Crook to call Lucille, and then we attack for 24. Then we attack Vanguard, and we bounce and call 2 Lucilles, giving 10k to our whole front row. We check a heal trigger when he no guards. So he no guards, he doesn't get a 6 damage heal, but even if he did, he wouldn't have been able to take any more punishment after that. So he literally would have had to pretty much triple 6 damage heal to survive against me, which is just not really plausible. I've never seen anyone do it. Not that it can't be done, but it's just extremely, extremely unlikely. It's extremely unlikely to even 6 damage heal one time, in my opinion. But now we're loading up Ange game 2. We're playing against some kind of gold paladin variant here. Our opponent tries to move his starter out, and his starter's not the type that moves out, so I tell him that. He moves it back to soul. We attack, we check a draw a heal trigger, he checks a draw trigger. He checks a draw trigger for turn 2, so I was like, what the hell? Like, so lucky. But he apparently runs a lot of draw triggers because as we were doing damage to him this whole time, we used double Shandi skill to draw 4, which is pretty good because our opponent did a lot of damage to us. So then he guards us for 1 to pass, we don't get it. Then we attack for 18, and he gets another draw trigger, giving power to his Vanguard and draw. Then he attacks our Vanguard. He gets a draw trigger, power to something and draw, and then he does the second check. Then he attacks our Vanguard, and then he attacks Vanguard for 15, and we guard it. We use our Ange skill to bounce our G guard, or sorry, bounce our heal trigger. We use Ange skill again. And he tells us to wait, so we were waiting, and I guess we were just waiting for him to come back to his computer for a second. So we use Ange skill to make him bounce one and make ourselves bounce one. So we're waiting for him to get back and actually bounce his card, because I believe it did happen at some point, unless I'm mistaken, and this was like a quitter game. But I'm pretty sure I remember this game going on. Yeah, so he bounces his card. We search out a card, we draw a card. We use Alt to return 2 Harmony cards to the board, or to the hand. And then we reset up our board, making Harmony, and we attack for 15. And then we attack for 16, using the skill of Lucio, 5k, 5k, 5k. It's all the things involved. And then we attack, calling double Lucille. He guards for a 2 to pass, with a bunch of cards in his hand, and then we check a Ange, a crit trigger, and a heal trigger. We put the crit and the heal all to one side, and then we attack his Vanguard with the non-crit. He 6 damage heals, and then we attack him with the crit side, and he can't survive that time. So, like you guys can see, like, First Stride is pretty much a kill turn in Ange, which is why it's seen as, you know, one of the greater decks in G format. It's just very, very, very aggressive and really can mess up your opponent in a lot of different ways. So loading up Ange game 3, we're playing against Grand Blue actually, which is pretty cool. Our hand is our starting hand is not cool, so we pass turn to our opponent because we don't have a grade 1. Our opponent attacks us, we take it, and then we take the Vanguard attack. We top deck a grade 1, which is thankful, like thank God, because we don't want to G assist with his hand. So then we ride a grade 2, we play a card to our rear guard circle, and then our opponent does a lot of damage to us, and we just eat all the damage. Then we use Ange skill to bounce Deuce of Breeze because he chose not to ride, and then we bounce his grade 2 to his hand. And we search out a card, and we draw a card, we shuffle, and then we use the skill of Loris to soul charge 1. We attack for 15. He takes the damage. We use Crook skill to call it back, attack for 16, and then attack with Vanguard. We got a stand trigger, stand up our rear guard, and then we attack, and he takes it. So then we're pretty confident that we're going to survive with 3 G guards in our hand and a PG. So our opponent attacks for 11. We guard with a 5. Our opponent attacks for 16, we guard. Our opponent attacks for 11, we guard. And then our opponent calls back cards. And then we G-guard the Vanguard, using the skill to flip over cards and make it a no pass. He does check a heal trigger, but he can't heal. And then he attacks for 18. We guard with Citron with no skill. And then we G-guard into Ellie as our last G-Guardian that we're going to use. So the reason why we did that is because we're totally intending on ending it this turn. We bounced his Negro Lazy so that he won't be able to use the G-Guard skill to kill cards and try to do the combo on us where he kills some of our cards. So we're able to just make a pretty impressive board. We play Loris and Spica. We use the Harmony skill of Loris to soul charge, and then we play a popping medley Layla. We attack for 16. Our opponent takes it, gets a heal trigger, power to Vanguard. Then we attack for 23, and our opponent literally just takes it because I'm pretty sure they're experienced with this deck and they just know what's coming. So then we play it out just like what would happen if we, were to play it out for real. And then we would attack for 76, get a stand trigger, and we would get nothing else. We would be ending with a G-Guardian, 2 PGs in our hand. So even if he happened to survive on the slim chance that he did, he would have almost no resources, and then we would be able to block his turn. But yeah, with that being said, that has been the Ange deck list and the Ange FutureFight video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps a lot more than you guys think. Also, if you want to support the channel, be sure to click the subscribe button and click the bell button that's next to the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our videos. And when our videos go live, clicking the bell button actually gives you a notification on when our videos go live. Then you can check out our social medias down in the description down below, which is our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. and I like to post a lot of things on the Facebook, updates to the channels, thing that's going on, if I'm out of town, if I'm in a tournament, what's going on, so you guys can stay updated to the Facebook page, which is really good for me to communicate with you guys. So if you guys want to check that out, and then if you are interested in supporting the channel beyond the liking or subscribing, and this is just your favorite channel, you want to give back or throw a little more into it so that we can have better content and better things, this is the reason that we can have nice things. Basically, check out our Patreon or our merch store. But with that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.